Remember, kids need a lot of repetition. As a coach, you need to find interesting and engaging ways to repeat. So let's look closely into what is repetition. Hey, this is Moni Singh, an engineer, a creator, a mother, and a lifelong learner. Many people know me as Miss STEM, the founder of the STEM for Kids movement. I created this channel to help you raise your children, your students for success in this ever transforming world laced with increasing digital influence. You watch these videos because you know that there's something more inside your kids. They got the Elon Musk type of talent hidden inside them. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button, and I share regularly, and as a subscriber, you have access to the practical tips, tools, and resources to raise resilient creators. We aren't necessarily saying you need to repeat the same activity again and again. We are talking about something a little bit different. First, we all hear the saying, practice makes perfect. I prefer to use a variant of that phrase, practice makes better, right? It makes better. We all know that. And so it's important that whatever concept we are bringing to children, we bring it in a way that they're able to practice it in multiple times and in multiple forms. And that creates more of those neural connections and the learning sticks. Before we go any forward, let's look into our brains for a while. Our brain contains about 100 billion, billion with a B, billion cells called neurons. So it's 100 billion neurons. Neurons receive the various signals from our body and also from our different senses, right? The eyes, ear, the touch. And they carry that information throughout the human body to coordinate all the important bodily functions. To achieve that transmission, each neuron may be connected to up to 10,000 other neurons, passing signals to each other. And if you look at the math, that's a possible 1,000 trillion synapses. 1,000 trillion synapses. Now, our new thoughts, feelings, and experiences create new synaptic connections between neurons, and these connections are constantly being formed and reorganized in our brain. Think of synapses as an interconnected system of roadways. When a new synapse is formed, think of it like just starting to walk on a grassy land. You just decided to walk out and it's grass everywhere and you're just walking on it. You walked on it once. But if you walk on that pathway again and again and again, your steps start to make indents, right? You see that the grass now starts to get lowered, and you can actually visibly see that there's a path starting to emerge there. And over time, those indents will become more and more pronounced. If the pathway remains in use, maybe you'll consider putting dirt on it. And as the usage increases, maybe the municipality comes in and pours concrete on it to make it a proper road, and then they put street lights. You see, the more we use certain connections in the brain, the more strengthened they get. And that's what practice does. It allows the usage of certain pathways to such an extent that a cluster of those pathways form almost like a circuitry. And that creates sticky learning. So we know that practice is important. And when we are dealing with coaching children, it doesn't matter what topic you're working with. It could be simple playtime, and all you care for is having fun and maybe providing some simple life lessons to the children. Or perhaps it's a structured learning environment where you are teaching a course, a subject like mathematics or science, language arts, or perhaps a STEM program. How do you create that repetition? Now, there are three elements to repetition. The first element is repetition over time. The second element is repetition in form. And number three is recapping. Those are your three elements of repetition. Now, what do I mean by those? That's that, right? We're looking for repetition over time, repetition in form, and recapping. So, number one, repetition over time. And this is where you want to space out the learning over time, depending on the complexity of the concept that you're working with. Maybe you want to give it a couple of sessions, a couple of interactions. And even if you decide to wrap up that concept in one interaction, you can make sure to bring it back again in the next class, next session, and discuss the application for that. So you're spacing it out and discuss that over multiple interactions or multiple classes so that the child can really grasp that concept, grasp the context of the concept as well. And they also have it connected with everything else that they know and they're learning, and that creates the repetition over time, right? So you have those neurons firing, sending signals over the synapses are occurring, and then if you pass those signals again and again over that synapse, right? It's that same effect that I was talking about, like you're walking on that grassy pathway multiple times, and this connection becomes stronger with repetition. The second element of repetition is repeating in form. And by that, what I mean is that you create activities which engage the children in many different formats. And you want to engage as many of the senses as you can, because again, you're trying to create sticky learning, more stronger connections that get built in the brain. And as an example, one time you may do a hands-on activity, and the next time you could be brainstorming with that concept. Maybe you do a research with that concept next, then you build something, experiment. So you can create variety in terms of bringing that learning home for children. And the third element is recapping or summarizing the key learnings and experiences as you go. So we know the three elements of repetition: repetition over time, repetition in form, and recapping. And I'll take a few examples to show them in practice next. Hey, now that you have watched this or heard what I just shared, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And also, depending on which platform you're on, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating or like and comment. And also share this resource with your friends and relatives so that they can also get their hands on all this valuable information that I'm sharing. Now, one more thing, I am giving away my 7 C's blueprint for raising successful children. So if you have not gotten a copy yet, go ahead and do that right away. You can go to www.raisingresilientcreators.com. The link is down in the description. So go ahead, click on it and get that resource. It's a very valuable resource that can help you with your priority of getting your children on the pathway towards success. So with that, again, subscribe to the channel and go ahead and get that resource right away.